Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Gonna make a loud noise. All right. Hello, hello, hello. All right. My name is Dave with What Game Now? And we're back again for number 2 of the Hobby Backlog. If anybody didn't join us last time, I have been painting some Blood Bowl Dwarfs. Currently working on the currently working on the well, oh, that's not nice. Okay, currently working on the Troll Slayers. We pretty much completed this one. There's a couple little details I want to go back, but we pretty much completed this guy last time. And I remember, I mean, he needs to be based, obviously, but he's going to, once we get the basing done, then we're going to go ahead and put a clear coat over him to protect the paint while we play with them, because they will be played with. And we'll be showing some Blood Bowl content hopefully here soon on the channel. Blaze, if you happen to see this, I'm waiting on you for that, sir. Well, maybe it's a couple other people, but well, what's going on here? It's like we're having a small problem with the stream. Well, let's see what that is and why. We're not getting what we want here. Well, that's not good. All of a sudden we're having some issues. So give me a moment. Let's start this back up and see what we got. All right, let's see where we are with it. There we go. All right, so if I missed anyone there, if anybody's still watching, we had a problem there with the stream. So I'm trying to fix that. All right, there we go. Getting somewhere. All right. Anyway, so we had a problem with the Blood Bowl door, with the stream there, but we're back up. We did not have a problem with the Blood Bowl Dwarfs. So, okay. So right now, we finished. We'll start over there. My name is Dave. Was What Game Now? And this is another episode of the Hobby Backlog. Welcome to anybody who's checking it out. We've only had one other episode, but checking it out. Let's see. No. Give me just one moment. Alright, sorry about that interruption. I left the light on in the bathroom. So, anyway, name's Dave. It's with What Game Now. This is the Hobby Backlog. This is where I try to go through all the things that I need to go through and paint and build and so on and so forth. And I figured I'd do that with hopefully somebody watching and chatting to, keep me accountable and honest and going. So, appreciate anybody that joins today. Last time we were working on the Blood Bowl Dwarfs, and now we're working on Blood Bowl Dwarfs. We're doing the Troll Slayers. This was the first one that we pretty much finished with this guy. Let me pick him up here. Except for his basing. So we still need to base him. And maybe a couple of details, but he's pretty much ready to go. Once you base him, we'll put the clear coat over him just to make sure the paint doesn't start to rub off from the handling from the game. And so we should be having some Blood Bowl content soon. We also started on this dwarf, Troll Slayer, and he's turning out pretty good. But as you can see, we really got to put some color into his beard, and there's some details that really need to be done, like on his helmet right here. So there's some etchings and so on and so forth that we want to get, and we got some skin tone to kind of go back over, and so we'll get to that here in just a moment. The picture in the bottom left is GW's Blood Bowl Dwarf of this particular model, a particular mini, and we're not exactly going with that. So you can tell that the paint's a little darker, and some people, I really like the highlighting stuff that they do on their models. It makes for a real good sorry, give me just one moment. It makes for a real good mini, obviously, but it's just never been something I like to do. I kind of like to go without the major highlightings. I do like to go in and make sure and define things with the washes and give some of the dark recesses in the painting, but I've never been one to throw a bunch of highlight on. So, but who knows, maybe that'll change sometime. All right, so right now what we're going to be doing is we have our lava orange from Army Painter. I'm going to give that a shake, and you'll probably see the bottom camera shaking a little bit there. But you can never shake your paints too much. Remember that. And yeah, so just remember, shake them up, shake them up, shake them. Always. Okay. Open up our wet palette here. Still got some paint from last time on it. Those who don't know, wet palette, there's many different ways to make them. I just use some sponges to hold the water, and then it makes for, it keeps the paint wet longer. So, if anybody's joining me today, please don't hesitate to chat. Like the last Hobby Backlog, it might start off a little bit slower, but we're trying to keep it going. Probably could have shaken this paint up beforehand, but we learn as we go. Let's see. So I want to do some Blood Bowl content with some of my buddies, like Blaze, who likes to play. If you watch this, Blaze, just check it out. Give me a holler. and we'll get that going. I have plenty of Blood Bowl stuff. Now getting him to paint his stuff, just like most people, is going to be difficult. But I think we'll get it done. Once again, the hobby backlog we're doing I'm doing because I have a lot of stuff that I need to paint. And sometimes inspiration comes from other people. And so if I have someone watching and someone to chat with, will probably make it easier for me to, going across the camera there, to wash out my brush a little bit here. I wash them out beforehand. I like to get them a little like to get them a little moist before start painting. And I might actually change this one, but we'll see how it picks up the paint and applies it. One thing to remember, if it's going to be like a mantra of some sort, just remember that when you're painting, it's better to put on multiple thin layers of paint than to glob it on. And you're going to see when we're painting this guy, he has a layer of paint. So when I got these models, I got them from my buddy Camden, and he likes to prime models black for certain reasons. Some people like to prime them different colors depending on what colors they're going to put on them. But for some reason, I guess he was going to go with a little bit of a darker scheme, so he primed them black. So that means sometimes that means that you have to put on more paint to cover up that black because it's very dark. But we'll see how much we have to put on. Alright, you want to make sure your brush stays loaded with paint for obvious reasons, because the more you move around the paint, the more brush strokes and things like that become evident. I'm thinking about, starting already, I'm thinking about moving to a little bit bigger brush for the beards. It's such a big piece. And if anybody has any problems hearing me or anything like that, or if there's anything wrong with any other part of the stream, let me know. And we're going over I'm gonna wash this brush off real quick. We're going over a pretty large area, and it's the first layer of this area. So if we get on the skulls or any of that other stuff that's in his beard, the mask and so on and so forth, it's not that big a deal because we're going to go over those with a different color. And this orange shouldn't be too terrible. So I'm going to get this bigger brush here, a little bit bigger. And once again, using just these cheap folk art gold Taklon brushes, like $4.50 or something like that at Walmart. Maybe one day I'll get some more expensive brushes, but I haven't had a need for them. I'm not doing any major painting for any contests or anything like that. And even then, I probably wouldn't use a crazy expensive brush. So, but anyway, I'm going to go through here. That's a little better. We can get a little bit more orange on there. Remember, also, we're going down, and just keep going down the piece here like that. I just keep going down because that gives time for the upper portions to dry. So we can come back and put another coat on them. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it on the screen there, but I get a little crazy sometimes with the paints. So we're just going to keep putting orange paint all over the bird. Now this brush might need a little bit more something. It's a little stiff. And the paint's not really loading up in it yet. Oops. Not really loading up in it yet. But anyway. So, but I really like Blood Bowl. A lot of randomness to it though. The dice rolling and stuff involved in it, but there's a lot of strategy in it too. Making sure that you've got the right positioning. Making sure, oops, sorry about the earthquake bump there. Making sure that you got the right positioning, you got enough guys around the guy you're trying to attack, or enough guys around the guy you're trying to protect before you start rolling dice. So makes it fun. For those who haven't played Blood Bowl is kind of like football. It's like football in a way, but more violent, if you can imagine that. Sometimes players die in Blood Bowl, and you can't get them back at any point during the game if they actually die. They can get knocked out and stuff like that, or stunned, and then stunned they can't be used for a little bit. Knocked out, they get taken off the pitch, and you have to wait till the end of a turn or end of a half or whatever to make sure that or to see if you get them back or not, and it's not guaranteed. So turn this upside down. Gives me a better angle, and that's one of the reasons I like paint handles. Once again, I'm just putting light coats of lava orange on his beard. I really am actually probably spending too much time or doing too much to one section right now. When you have a lot to go over. Oops, sorry. When you have a lot to go over, like in the beard here. it's best just to put a layer on and move on to another section, let that layer dry. Like I said, with the black here, it's going to take a little bit of doing, a couple of layers on it. So put it on and move on to a different section. I don't know if I've gotten this section yet, but it looks like I might have put a little bit on it. I'm trying to avoid globbing paint on. But getting coverage. It's a hard balance sometimes. And don't forget, if you check out the backlog and you like it, check out some more of the videos on What Game Now. Make sure you subscribe and like the ones you like, but really important too, almost as important as subscribing, is sharing the channel with other people, letting your friends know, gaming groups, so on and so forth. And if you kind of get too much paint on your brush, just go ahead and move it around. You just don't want it to pull in the details, and that way you don't get any detail. So that's bad. So you want to make sure that, like in this beard, you want to make sure that all the hairs are still standing out. Once again, don't be afraid to chat. I'll do my best to keep up with it, and if you have any questions, comments, don't be afraid to say something. It's kind of the point of this particular part of our YouTube channel, is to have someone to chat with while I go through what I consider the mountain of minis and stuff that I need to assemble and paint. And it's obvious I didn't put enough paint on my palette because it went away really fast. So I'm going to set this down and put a little more on the palette. Put my brush in the water for a minute. So kind of the goal for this is just to get stuff painted and have a good time, you know, chatting with people. I'm looking at his beard right now to make sure I didn't pull too much in places. Nah, I think we're okay. Yeah, the light's kind of weird. I'm still working on the lighting setup here too to make sure everybody can see stuff better. Should be able to see a little closer this time than last time. And as we build up what game now and everything, we can get some better cameras to kind of see. Make a quick adjustment on this camera. See if I can't get this a little straighter. It's kind of bothering me. It's a little tilted. Anyway, I'm getting some more orange paint. Since I've kind of been getting back into the painting and watching a number of videos, so you kind of notice some of the things you do that are different from others. I'll put plenty of yellow or orange in there, yellow, because I got lots of beard to go. But you can already see it coming together. You can already see the paint, the beard color starting to solidify. And once we get that once we get that once we get done getting it thicker, well, getting more coverage, then like I said, we'll go and wash over it. It's part of the thing too when you're painting. We always think we're gonna get to it quick enough. Oh, I'll remember what paint I used there, or what wash I used there, and some people might, because some people have better memories than others. But if your memory isn't the best, or it just might be a couple of days before you are going to get back to painting a specific model, you might want to take note of what colors you used. Like case in point with me, like this particular model, the one I did previous to this was a little while ago, so I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure what wash I used on that. So we'll both find out together, or we'll all find out together. Okay. And also when you're using paints like orange, well, kind of any paint, but paints like orange, which are some of the detail, you won't see it until you wash it with something. I actually need to get back to the top of this one. That's another thing. Have a plan and stick to it. Because the next thing you'll know, you'll be all off painting stuff you don't need to paint right at the moment. And you forget, oh, I was supposed to be painting that. Or why am I coming back up to put another coat on this top part of the beard now? That should have been it's not dry yet, you know? So, because you need to let the layers that you put on dry. If you don't, you're just moving paint around. So start in one place, work your way down or up, and then go from there. And I'm just going to keep talking to myself until someone asks me a question or something. So I am watching the chat occasionally, as often as I can. So if you have any questions, just ask. I'll do my best to answer them. Once again, I'm not an expert or pro painter, so and maybe it's something I can't answer right now, but maybe I can find an answer for you if you haven't been able to find one. But I'll at least give you my best answer. I do make random noises, and so you just have to deal with that. Nothing can be done. In the immortal words of Popeye, I am what I am. So. See, and that's something I keep saying not to do, and I keep doing it. Just going over spaces again and again when they're not ready to be going over. So just be patient. There are ways to paint for people who are not patient enough. And depending on the time, depending on the moment, sometimes I'm not patient enough, but good painting gets done through hard work and perseverance. And just like with a lot of things, the more you do it, the quicker you'll get at it. I haven't really painted a whole lot in the last few months, so I'm still trying to get back into it and get my stride, so to speak. Getting into some of these spaces can be tight. Just take your time, find the best angle to do it that you can find to do it. Also, I am a living human being who has other people and animals around, so you might hear I'm not in some studio or something. Well, kinda. This is what I call the studio, because this is where we record some of our videos. Well, most of our videos. Some of them get recorded at each person's location, get sent over, and I do editing or add music or whatever. So I'll move this over because I keep hitting that rail. And actually, let's spin this around because to kind of keep shape in the tip of the brush, I kind of like to pull. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And like I said, I'm no expert, but I kind of like to turn my brush, if you can see that. Kind of turn it and kind of pull away from the puddle, or from the pool of paint. So, like I said, not that that's something you have to do. It's one of the things I like to do whenever I'm putting paint on my brush. Trying to get into a little spot here, which it's really not that tight of a spot. I mean, I've been in a lot worse places to try to paint. The problem is more that I'm still trying to find the best lighting for this, so I get like a shadow of his foot over the part I'm trying to put paint on. So but you'll find like what works best for you. And some of it, like the way that I'm loading the brush up or putting paint on my brush to paint with, that may not even make a difference. Like if I just dipped it in there, it might be the same effect, but it gives me better peace of mind. So I feel like I'm doing more or doing right. So, and that little bit of confidence is sometimes the determining factor between an alright mini and something a little bit more special, or something that you just like it more. Like I said, it's in the end, if you're the one who's going to be playing the models on the table, then I mean, as bad as it might sound to some people, the only person that has to like it is you. So as long as you're proud to put them on the table and say, hey, I painted that, more power to you. I'm also working on seeing what kind of music that we're allowed to play on these live streams and stuff, because we've been really lucky. Lucky, but it's been a really good experience so far with copyright stuff. I mean, I know that's the big thing, and I've seen it happen, so I know that it does happen, but you know, copyright strikes and stuff like that, I've seen it happen to other people, and it's kind of silly, but we got a partial, it wasn't a copyright strike, we didn't get in any trouble or anything, but we got a partial block on one of Kakita Ren's videos, the Digimon one. So because of the Digimon, I don't know if it's like a theme song. I'm not a big Digimon person, so often that was like the Digimon theme. But it was a partial block in Japan only, so it was okay that it be on there everywhere else except for Japan. When it came to Japan, it could not be. I guess that part of the video was muted. So, but it was part of the video game that he was streaming. If you haven't checked it out, you can check it out. Hopefully he'll send us a few more videos on it. It was kind of cool. Kakita plays, or what he calls quiet plays. So they're just him playing. There's no talking or overlay or anything like that. No voiceover. He just wants you to see the game as it's meant to be seen, and while he enjoys playing it. So there's nothing wrong with that. Some people don't like to be bothered by having to keep talking the whole time they're playing their video games. They're video games, but yeah. But they're fun to watch. I recently got a video from Josh. I don't know if y'all saw it go up. Where he's playing some Final Fantasy 14, the online Final Fantasy. I don't know if 11's still online or not, but Final Fantasy 14 online. There was like I slaughter pronunciation sometimes, so it doesn't matter. But the Nier Automata raid they put into Final Fantasy 11 or 14 looked pretty cool, but he kind of sped up a little bit of the footage, but got it through. They went through and cleared it. 24-man raid, I think. So a lot going on. It's kind of hectic. Well, we're definitely getting some more yellow on there. We're getting close. Now remember that this one is washed over, so it's darker. You can see the recesses, so you can kind of see the difference. But once we get this to a solid color, it'll definitely be and you can see the difference live here as to how it changes the colors. Alright, I'm going to stop futzing with that one. And I said futz, not the other word, so it'll go hollering at me. Go back up here. I'm going to go ahead and give my brush a little rinse. We've been working with this paint a little bit. I find yeah, it shouldn't be a problem, but well, again, peace of mind. I like to make sure the brush is not building up gunk. It says we've had one concurrent viewer for a while. Concurrent viewers 1. Is there anybody out there watching right this second? If you are, just say hi in the chat. Or whatever. Put a thumbs up, smiley face. I'm going to keep painting whether there's somebody watching or not, but as gross as it sounds, when you're getting ready to paint and you want that nice pointy tip on the brush, the old put the paintbrush in your mouth there and pull it out. Whoops. And between your lips there, and it'll It's a pretty good job of putting that point back on. I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a doctor, so, and I haven't done any, you know, triple blind placebo studies or anything, but I know a lot of people who do it, including pro painters, and they don't have any crazy diseases or anything because they put their paintbrush in their mouth. So because I'm not an expert or a doctor, I'm not going to suggest that you do it. I'm not going to be like, do it, because we know how that ends. But what I will say is that I do it. So take that as you will. But in no way did I tell you to do it. That you should. Or anything of the sort. Because that's the way problems get started. Trying to get a little paint behind his beard. Someone's gonna look back there too close and just give them a nice pop in the back of the head while they're looking. Slam their head in the table. But for my peace of mind, we'll at least put a little paint back there. There's another spot of it right in here. That needs a little paint. Whoa, a nice little chunk on the side here. Right below his mask. The one thing you'll notice too when you're painting is that some of what you're doing is really just kind of blocking out color. When I say blocking, I don't mean blocking to keep it from showing. I just mean you're putting colors on the model. You're not defining the edges real well, or, you know, it looks kind of bland. But as you go along, you get to see it start to take form, and that's the cool part. So like once we get the beard completely orangified, then we'll come back and go over with the wash, and you'll see that start to take shape. And don't be afraid to add an extra layer of something, even washes, but let them dry first and then go back over it. And if I remember correctly, when it came to the first one, first Troll Slayer and his beard, as you can see now, it's taking several coats. Taking a few coats on his beard to cover up the black. And sometimes you don't want to cover up the base coat all the way, because that little bit of black showing through can add a little bit more definition. It can add some more definition. It can add like the presence of, you know, dirt, it being dirty. Well, I said the presence. It can add the appearance. That's the word I was looking for. And it can add the appearance of it being dirty. That's another thing about painting, whether it's minis or, you know what, any hobby. Any art, anything like that. The thing about it is people jump in and they get frustrated because they're not just killing it, you know. It's, oh, it's not the best model I've ever seen. Well, the best model you've ever seen was probably painted by someone who's been doing it for years, first of all. They've developed their technique and everything else over time. Sometimes a long time. You see some of these pro painters, they've been doing it since, you know, they were teenagers. And now they're in their, you know, some of them, I guess, even in their 40s. So they've had lots of time. They put lots of paint to miniature. So don't beat yourself up over the fact that you're not painting the best possible miniature the first time you try, or even the 20th time you try. It's just sometimes it's not going to happen. You got to learn from the mistakes and move on, do better next time. And the other thing, though it takes time, I mean, there's always simple green. Put your little simple green in a vat or in a those plastic shoebox things or Rubbermaid dish or something like that, something deep enough to cover up a mini. And don't dilute it, just put it in there. Chill in those gallon jugs or whatever. Just pour it in there. Put your mini in there, let it sit. I just let them sit overnight. I mean, I'm not in a hurry. Let them sit overnight in the super green, the simple green. Take a stiff, bristled like nylon brush. And scrub it real good. They're plastic, they usually stay together pretty good if you're using plastic glue like with GW models. If you're using super glue, it's usually not a big deal there either. If you put together a metal model with super glue and didn't pin any of it with the, you know, drill and pinning, when you go to scrub it, you might knock off an arm or something. But just let it dry up and reassemble it. But anyway, simple green will pretty much mildly take off the paint. And might take a little bit more to get the primer off, but your paint will come off. And you can re-prime it and go at it again. So it's not the end of the world. It might take a little work, but how else are you supposed to learn? So it's not going to be If it were easy, everybody would do it. But the main point of that is don't get too down on yourself about your painting skills when you first start out. And even start with something simpler. Some people, they grab a model and it's like the most detailed model you've ever seen on the market, you know? And they're like, well, why can't I paint this model that has like all of his teeth are present and divided, and I want to make sure that I get all of that, and I want to make sure I get all these little details. Sure, a beginning painter can do that if they take their time. Hell, most of the time I consider myself still a beginning painter. I've painted a few things, but I'm definitely not the best at it. But I enjoy the hell out of it. But anyway, everything is an experiment in painting. Everything. So unless you... That brings me back to what I was saying earlier. If it's going to be a little time between your painting sessions, or you just have a bad memory, write down what paint you're using. If you make a mix, like you do a certain mixture of water and paint, like 2-to-1 or whatever the mix is. Or you blend two paints together. You know, keep track of that stuff. You might want to use that technique later. I was watching a video the other day, and it was they were talking to pro painters, and these are the guys that paint for studio or for game developers and stuff. They're like studio painters and stuff. Some of them are commission painters or contest painters. So anyway, and they were asking them if they knew what they know now, what kind of things would they have changed in their careers. And one of the guys was like, I would have taken better notes. You know, blends that he's made and so on and so forth. So, and this comes from a guy who's been doing it for years. And the one thing that he really wishes he would have done was just take better notes. So, that's a thing. And you'll notice as you're putting some more paint on things that there's slight spots that you might be missing. Just take your time and go over them. I mentioned it last episode, but I think I'm really close to having to get one of those magnifiers for my face. Jeweler's mask or whatever they are, but because I really, once I get started, usually I'm pretty good. Like once my eyes get adjusted to looking at the small, looking at the mini being so small, and it kind of gets in that general focus area. or focus mode. And it turns out pretty good. But those first few minutes, they can be tough. They can be tough. That's why a lot of times I don't like to start with the big, like really fine detail stuff when I first start painting something, or I start a painting session. Sometimes that's not a good idea because I'll get paint everywhere on places I don't want it. So now, if you've been watching from the beginning, or you saw it from the last video or whatever, you can definitely tell that there's been some progress made on this buddy, because his beard is really fleshing out now. Really fleshing out. Or coming together. Like, it's really starting to get the right amount of orange. We are pretty close to being able to wash this buddy and get those that definition in it. Once again, said it before, I'll say it again. Work with the paint that you get on your brush, but don't overwork the paint that you get on your brush. If it's pulling up a little bit when you first put it on, then yeah, it's okay to spread it out. But the more you spread it out, the greater chance you run of taking that smoothness away that you want, because there's gunk buildup or whatever. And you get into these spots, but that turned out alright. I still need to get, okay, this is going to be the fun part. I need to get, there's like a little line in his beard that goes real close to his belly. And all the way up. I think I might have gotten it, but see, there's like this whole area behind there. There we go. As long as we get some orange on it. This brings up another thing. So, when you're painting minis, now, like I said, when I got these minis, they were assembled in prime black. So, I really didn't have a choice in the matter on these. But if they're brand new minis, depending on the quality you're looking to get, it might behoove you to paint the pieces before you put them together. And what I'm having to do now is one of the reasons why. So I'm having to try to get behind his beard without painting his belly or any other parts I don't want to paint. Now, like I said, if someone wants to go look so close at it, then fine. But as long as I get the majority this is why I keep that picture up here, because I'm looking at his beard and I can't tell if that's, and that is his beard. Sorry, we almost made a mess up there. Yep. Because he's got this skull right here. But the face of the skull is pretty thin. Like the bones extending down the front. But as I was looking behind to see where places I needed to paint that I hadn't painted yet, I noticed there were some lines in the model that looked like hair. So that's a good thing that I looked. So we're going to go over it with a nice even coat and let it sit and come back to it. Sweet. That's why those pictures of the painted models are good. Even if you don't go with the color scheme. God dang it. See? And I got some orange paint on a couple of pieces. Dang it. Oh well. When you do that, don't beat yourself up over it too much. Especially with like little dots like I got here. So I can just come back and tap a little bit of the other color on it and be done. So, no biggie. But it is frustrating when it happens. Very frustrating when it happens. So, all right. Man, that's coming together nice. It's coming together real nice. Orange is really starting to cover where it needs to. Getting rid of that black that's showing through on it. So we just take our time, man. We just work a little paint on it. Get a little more, work a little paint on it. Get a little more. It's like a dance. Just kidding. But yeah. Man. I wish I had a before picture of this thing. It's coming around. A couple little spots in the flows here. The hair's flowing down. That might be able to use another layer. But for the most part, man, we are getting it done. once again, I hope you can see the benefit to these paint handles, man. Oops. Give it a little shake there. There are some angles, man, that you just don't get by just holding the base in your hand. And there are many people who do that and do great work, so. But I got fat hands, man. So if I gotta hold that small base, hand's gonna start cramping up. Especially the older I get. So it looks like this first layer we put on by the skull is a little drier. Is a little dry. So we're gonna go ahead and put another layer, because once we get that done, I think we are ready to let it dry a little bit and get to washing it, man. Start to really work on that detail. That some of those details come out. So going to the back here. Oh yeah. It's looking good. Looks real good. I mean, you can really see the difference in this thing when we started. One of the things I love is it just comes together like that. I'll look at this one again. Yeah, see? It just looks so good. Just looking so good. Yep, yeah. It's looking so good. See, I wish you could see that a little bit better. This is a perfect example of why painting before putting together is such a good idea. It's just like this recesses that just get behind. These pieces just get behind the rest of the model. And you really just you can reach them, but there's just really no good way to reach them. I'm still waiting for that to dry. And while I do, I'm just picking up little pieces, little areas that need a slight other coat, but I think we're good there. Still got no one to talk yet. That's okay. It will happen in time. I have ways of making you talk. Nobody's chatting with me. All right. And I think that area that we are waiting on is ready for another little coat. For all you guys out there who think my beard is awesome, well, probably it is. I'm not going to take that away from you. It's probably an awesome beard. I have a beard, and I don't know that it's awesome, but I like it. Once again, that's what's important. But this dude, I feel safe going out on a limb and saying that he's got a better beard. He's got such an awesome beard that when he jumps in the air, he can't jump high enough for it to leave the ground. Now that sounds like, ooh, just touched it. That sounds like a pretty damn awesome beard to me. That looks like it's about ready for our wash. Now, I like to, it's partially because I watched a video once of someone painting a model, and I like that they addressed each of these layers separately. So what I mean by that is they painted the layer with the base color. They blocked out the color. That particular color they're using, like the flesh tone, and then once it was ready, they immediately just kind of went over it with their wash or tone that they were going to use, wash tone ink, whatever the hell you want to call it, but they immediately went over it after it was done, and then moved on to the other part of the model. Kind of like that, gives some finality to it. Okay, so my only thing right now, oops, I'm reaching back and turning my Lazy Susan I have over here because it has my paints on it. So I'm trying to go over here to find my washes. And now, okay, so here's where the thing comes in. All right. We have soft tone. That's mild brown. Flesh wash, dark tone. Looking for my light tone. Which ones again I should have pulled out before I started this thing. So that's a strong tone. And that's a light tone. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure that I used light tone. And one of the reasons I think I didn't use soft tone I'm looking at the colors now and I'm trying to figure out if it might actually have been soft tone. Because one of them, soft tone or light tone, is kind of a sepia wash, which really is more brown than, it's really more sepia, which kind of is a brown, like a very light brown. It's what I used on their pants, so it's kind of like a rusty kind of wash. And one is more of a kind of a, I don't want to say black, but just a darker tone. And I don't want to use the sepia one because it dries a little more brown than dark, like a black color. So I think at this point, I believe it is the light tone. But I don't remember. And this is where the problem can come in. This is why I say write down the things you use. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go with the light tone, because the soft tone is more of a muddy, ruddy kind of color. So muddy, ruddy, ruddy, muddy. Some of the mistakes that I made are where I hit it with the like the orange and stuff on the belly stuff. It's fine because I have to put some more skin tone behind the elbows too. Elbows also, because it's either it didn't get on there well enough when I first did it, or it's rubbed off. So we'll get it done. And it's almost like I didn't flesh wash these feet. But it looks like I may have. Alright. So we have some light tune. And put a little bit more light tune in there. Okay. And what we want to do, just like with the blue tone we did last time, there's like a bubble in there. Anyway, I like to give it a little mix around with these. And you want to load up your brush with it. And you want to go over it so that it pulls in the recessed areas. As you can see, it also darkens the orange. Gives it some more definition. Now, especially around these areas where there are, like where the skulls are on their beard, It'll give a little, once it dries, it'll give a little tone to that too. And you want to keep going. You want to just work your way down or up. The one thing I do remember from the last dwarf, when I did his beard, was that it took multiple layers of the wash to get the desired effect I wanted. So, as we're putting pardon my French. As you can see, as we're putting it on right now, it is definitely not. I'll get a little bit more on that one. It is definitely not where we want it, but that's a lot. I'm going to wipe off some of this and just go back over it with the brush so it'll suck up some of these pools. Alright, anyway, so like I said, we wanted to kind of pull in the recesses. And when it dries, it'll leave some of that pigment in there. So you don't want to overdo it, but you want to make sure you're getting that stuff in the recesses. And you can already see the difference it's making in the paint. Now, it's also wet right now. So we're going to let it dry. And then we'll really be able to see the effect that it has. Now, once again, no expert, so this may not be the proper way to use these washes. But I know it gives me the effect that I'm looking for from my experience. So all right. So it's starting to dry up in some of these spaces. And I can see a few spaces I still haven't put any on yet. So let's make sure we do that. We want to make sure we get all the spacers. If we don't, we're going to have some weird looking stuff. All right. Until we got our first layer of it on where we want it. Oops, that's a lot pulling in right there. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a ton of that wash in that little area. So we can dry off your brush a little bit, and then don't run the brush too much into it, but just kind of set it in there and it'll suck up some of that. Okay, so we're gonna let that part dry, and then we're gonna give it another coat. I'm gonna go ahead, since we're gonna have to wait a minute for that to go and get done. I'm just gonna wash my brush out. Once again, we've got our first coat of the light tone on the beard, where we painted the orange first, and we're going to let it dry. The desired effect we're looking for is basically what we have on this guy. But I remember correctly, it took like 2 or 3 coats of that on there to get it right. So I'm pretty sure it was the light and not the strong. The strong was really dark. So yeah. So we can see how in some of the areas we have more, some of it's still drying, but we can see how we can see where the definition's coming up on the beard now. But it was just one coat of it, and it's not dry yet. You can see in his hair kind of a similar thing there already. But once this dries, we'll be able to put more on it and make it look better. And I want to finish this beard before we're done with the stream. It's been on about an hour and a half, which shows a couple things. One, I like to paint, and 2, I'm slow at it. Well, we did have a couple of different things here. A couple different things we needed to address in this one, but still, it's taking a while. We had to put a few coats on there. So, but boy, is it going to be a pretty beard when we're done. Pretty beard. Oops, that didn't work. Nope, that's not high enough. Just trying to find something to put under here. What about this dye? Where it won't fall. But it's still drying. But then you can go look at it. Dude, I thought that was so much closer there. If I go up. Definitely got to work on the lights and get more light in there. I think I'm losing light to the outsides, but we'll figure it out. Alright, so while we're letting that finish dry, and I really want it to get completely dry. Alright, so I'm going to step away just for a minute. But I'll be right back. Why is that not? What's the color on this thing? Text transform? Nope, that's not what I want. I want to change the color. Oh, let me do it on this next page. It will not. Now, I've used this stupid thing before, and it was able to let me change color. But that's okay. We are going to let well, that color definitely does not stand out. Ah, there it is. Set color. Custom color. Let's go with the blue. That should offset it pretty good. I don't know. But I've sat here long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and mute my sound. And I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So we're going to. I almost put strong tone in there. That would be bad. Okay, so we've let it dry. Well, part of it's dry. There's still a little bit in that recess that needs to dry, but we can get the rest of it while that dries, and that may just be excess. Thanks for waiting while I let that dry, because if you don't let it dry, then it doesn't get in the recesses, and then putting an extra layer on does nothing. So, and you'll see as we put this next layer on and let it dry, how much darker it gets. I mean, it was bright. I can show you the difference between the colors. I mean, look at that. That's the color it was, and that's what it looks like with the first coat. Much different. So we're going to shake up this light tone a little bit more, and we'll put that in there. Alright, we're going to get a little water in here. Yep, go the other way, dude. A little water on the brush. So what happens is, like, I stepped away for a few minutes, and just in that few minutes, the bristles on the brush got a little dry and stiff. So we want to put a little water in there. I'm gonna turn this around. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put on the next All right, I've been sitting here putting this on and not talking. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna put a little bit more on his hair as well. All right. I'm looking to see if I got all of the areas. I think I see a spot I didn't get yet. All right, and even though it isn't dry, we can already see the difference a second layer makes. So we can see, already seeing a lot more definition in his beard. And it may take more than 3. May take more than 3. So, if anybody's watching now, can you see what I'm talking about with that? So we're getting closer to this finished product. So you can see the beard, and it's wet right now, but as it dries, you'll see that we're getting closer to what he has on, what we have on this one. So we're letting that dry for a minute. I'm gonna prop it up right here while I talk so you can see it, but yeah, it's definitely getting in there. Now we have, as a matter of fact, I may not prop it up because I want it to stay in a certain spot. And you'll notice there's a bunch of different shades, like the light tones, what we're using now. These are Army Painter quick shades. Work really well. They also make like a bit like a little small paint can of it that they say block out your paints and then just dip the dude. Get your pair of pliers or whatever, grab the base and just like dip the dude down in this thing and let it and then like shake off the excess, like sling off the excess. And it's, you know, it's making and it adds the shade, so that's kind of neat. But we got strong tone, and it gets a lot darker. We used blue tone last time. I mean, they got purple tones and red tones and so on and so forth. And when I was looking at this earlier, I was like, well, maybe I should have went like a little red tone to get a kind of a fiery thing. But I think I like the way that it turned out on the other one, so I think I'll like the way it turns out on this one too. But yeah, it's looking really good. One thing I noticed about this particular, this particular one, is that this particular model. So if you look at the other one, it's like there's a little bit more definition in the top part of the beard on the previous one, but like I said, that's kind of what these tones do, these washes. So, while that's drying, I guess I can talk about a couple other things that I want to finish up around here. So I got this box of Infinity Ariadne. I got most of these models out of here and they're built because I've been playing some Infinity. But I want to get the rest of the models out of there and get them assembled and painted. And this one's another one that I really want to get to. The Scots Guard and Ariadne. Got these. Just tell you how long I've had these that they're not painted. And this is why I'm doing this backlog. This particular box and that other one, plus another starter box and some single figures that I've had since last Christmas. And I haven't even assembled that one box yet. So I've had it for like a year and haven't even assembled it. So this is why I'm doing the hobby backlog. Because I really want to get these things done and get some painted models on the table. I think painted models make all the difference in the world. To the enjoyment of the game for some people, for me especially, because if I see the painted models on the table that are mine, and I can see my guy is like completely done up, it makes for, I don't know, it's like a more immersive experience in a way. So I have the Blood Bowl Dwarves that I need to finish painting. Then I have I got like 2 sets of Blood Bowl humans, but I want to put together a roster and paint some of those, or paint up a team of those anyway. I have a Underworld Denizens team, which is like a mixture of I remember correctly, it's like a mixture of rats and goblins, and they have like a troll. And maybe I'll show it next time, but I have a troll that's a proxy model. I actually may be getting a troll soon through a trade. But anyway, through a trade. But and if I do, I'll paint that up on here too. But what else do I got? I have my War Machine stuff I still need to paint for our War Machine Escalation series. If you haven't seen any of that, you should check it out. Let's see. I think I put a link to, or one of the options in one of the end cards. The end scene, I think I put that on there. But I might put a little card up there for you to see. But this is one of my Crix Warjacks from the starter box. I was going to prime it this color and then just dirty everything up and paint the gold and some silver and then the green that, indicates a Crix, because they run off some weird energy, but I don't know the lore. I have to get Nick to talk about that. But it's like a green color that goes over in parts of the Warjacks to kind of show the power they're using to run. And one of the greens I'm going to use is this one. This is a game color one, Vertibilis Livery green. It's a real nice bright green that I'm going to use for highlights on that. I'm not sure what the base green is going to be. Probably something like this War Boss green from Citadel, and then highlight it with that. Give it a little bit of a highlight on it, because I don't mind highlights, but in that particular instance, but see, we're getting dry here. But I don't mind highlights in certain instances, and I think when you're making like a glowing thing that's supposed to be there as like an energy, that the highlights are important. So, but this is starting to dry. You can see So the spots that are still wet and pooling, but it's definitely going in the right direction. After the first coat, I was kind of concerned because it's been a while since I did the last one. But this is definitely turning out the way I want it. And that's cool. I guess while I'm doing that, I could shake up this white. Start doing some details while that dries. I need to plan these a little bit better. But I planned on, having a few people here to talk to. So if anybody comes in, man, don't be afraid to talk. But here on the same YouTube channel, there's a number of assembly videos from our War Machine Escalation series. If you want to see some of that. We have some video game stuff. We have... we played our first game of War Machine with Nick helping us out. We got the Nick Knows War, the beginner's buying guide stuff for War Machine, because that's one of the most confusing things when I get into a new miniature. What do you buy? What do you buy? What's good? What's good? He doesn't go over like specific, like, buy this dude because he's the best. But he's going over theme forces right now to kind of give you an idea of what your options are in the theme forces for War Machine. And I like war games like War Machine. I even have fun playing 40K and Age of Sigmar. But I get so tired of just like moving all my stuff, rolling dice and all that stuff, and then waiting for my opponent to move everything. I like some of these. I really am a fan of tabletop sports games. Like Blood Bowl and Guild Ball. And I want to play some more of those. I don't know if Dread Ball's still going, but I always wanted to play that, so I might check it out. If anybody knows anything about Dread Ball, then let me know, because I'm very curious about that particular game. What the fuck? Oh, sorry. Language, David. My white paint is not coming out. I think we got a little dry spot in the top that's keeping us from getting it out of there. I apologize for my little slip up. Hopefully I caught it before it got too bad. There we go. Not a little toothpick can't solve, buddy. So I'm gonna finish up this beard, but while I'm waiting for some to finish drying, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little details. Some little detail work on this helmet. Shoot. Already messing things up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some cleaning up on this side. I really messed that one up. What I wanted to do. Oh, well, just dropped the paintbrush. There'll be some white paint on the floor in the studio. Sorry for the creaking of the chair. Dang it, man. Okay. Anyway. All right, and I'm not talking right now, so what I'm trying to do is to get these details in here, and it's working, but I'm gonna have to do some touch-ups on the blue, kind of like I did on the gauntlets or gloves or whatever you want to call them previously on the last one. But what I'm doing right now is I'm going matte white. Matte white on this. And then what I'll do is I'll go over it I'll go over it with a watered down dark tone like I did on the knuckles. So this is supposed to come down the bridge of the nose. What I'm trying to see right now. I thought there was a little piece of this that went I think that's pretty good. It comes down the bridge of the nose and goes out to like these almost metal eyebrows. All right. So right now, I think I've got all the little spaces that I wanted to get on this. All right. So I'm going to put the last, well, it might be the last on there. Apologize for all that quiet. When I get into real detailed stuff, I don't talk as much. But, so those who are watching this afterwards, not live, but afterwards, then we'll. Alright, so it's white there right now, like a matte white. And then what I'll do is I'll water down a dark tone and put it over, and then what the end result is like what's on here. But I still have to go through and redo the blue, like in between these, so that the, or around it, so that the etching stands out. So we'll get a smaller brush in there and do that. But for right now, we've cleaned off our brush. So we're going to grab our light tone again. Got fumble fingers. Alright, so we're putting on another coat of Army Painter Light Tone onto the beard of this Troll Slayer. So I'm starting to wonder. I mean, it's only the second episode, so I'm going to do it for a while. But wondering if I might intertwine with these live ones some recorded ones that I can speed up through some of this stuff. All right. All right. I think that last coat's going to do it. But it's going to dry up. I may put one more coat on it depending on how it dries. But that's going to end this one today, I think. Yeah, that's going to end today's Hobby Backlog. Been 2.5 hours. And actually, before I do that, let me... You know, I don't know what happened to my dark tone. That's weird, unless it's over here. It's flesh wash. Oh, there's my dark tone. But anyway, so I'm going to end this for tonight. Once again, I'm Dave with What Game Now, and you can check us out here on this channel. All of our videos, we have a Facebook at facebook.com/What Game Now. Our Twitter is What Game Now Live, because someone had the What Game Now. But our Instagram is at What Game Now. So Instagram.com/What Game Now. And we'll be, we put different things that we do throughout the week. If we're going to local game stores, stuff like that, I'll post up in there. I'll post up there like pictures of what we're doing and stuff like that. It's just getting started. So, but just remember, like, subscribe, even more importantly, share. Subscribe, of course, is just how we build a community here. But the sharing it around is just as important. So like, subscribe, share with everyone, and if you didn't hear about the social medias, they're up here on the screen, all of our social media, and yeah, just let us know what you'd like to see. Come keep an eye out while we keep an eye out for when I go live, and we'll go from there. I might start making some recorded hobby backlogs so that I can kind of speed some of these things up, but I really would like to do a lot of these on the fly and talk to people while we do it. So check it out, and thank you for stopping by. Have a wonderful night.